Hello, let me tell you something awesome if you want to start a podcast and you don't have the funds to do so. And if you haven't heard of Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. And even it has everything you need in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Easy to use. If I can use it, anybody can use it. Also, when hosting on Anchor, you get to distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more, and which is something you don't have to do nothing. Anchor does everything for you. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place, and best of all, Anchor is totally free. Check it out right now. Start a podcast. I cannot wait to hear you speak.
Hello, welcome to Truck Stop Murder True Crime Podcast. I am Gary Howard. Today we'll discuss what you should not do if you're a disgruntled employee being fired from a job that you stole a bunch of money from. Okay, for furthermore, let's go. Hope everybody's doing well. As for me, I am in Rapine, Raphine, Virginia, waiting to get my truck fixed. But before I start all my mess about me waiting to get repairs done, if you're a return listener, thank you for coming back. If you're a new listener, let me tell you about what I do. On certain days, I talk about either executed inmate from 1976 on, or I'll talk about a murder that does not involve person being executed, and or a missing or unsolved case, depending on the day and what case I cover. It could be anything. Today we're going to cover over the execution of Robert Sullivan. He was the eighth person executed since 1976, second person in Florida right after Simlac. If you want to listen to that, go back. He was the first person executed in the United States when it was reinstated in 1976. No, that was Gary Gilmore. I'm sorry. He was the second person executed. And man, the radio host, that was a fun one to do after hearing that radio host the debut when he was. Let's go back to listen to that. John Arthur Simlac. But today we're talking about Robert Sullivan. But let's talk about the truck stop I'm in right now. Right now I'm at the Petro, and this place is a pretty big Petro. Has a lot of spots. According to Truckers Path, it has 725 spots. So, and I've actually been to this place. They need this many spots because there's a few truck stops through here. They pack up. They give it's like a major thoroughpass here on 81 through Virginia. So there's a lot of trucks. And I remember one time coming through here and at the same Petro and had to park way in the back, and the parking was slim. So, but as of right now, there's many spots. And this is where I'm at right now, actually. So yay! That's 1,794 reviews. They gave it a 4.2 review. And it's recently remodeled, so it's a very nice truck stop. And it's right, like I said, on 81. It says 725 spots. They have some paid parking for $10. If you know the address of it, it's 244 Raffine Road, Raffine, Virginia, 24472. So there you go. And let's see what else. Diesel right now is 5. Can someone explain to me why diesel is twice the price of unleaded? Isn't diesel a byproduct of gas? Message me. I've been asking for messages, questions. I got a couple of reply, but not as many as I would like. There's 19 showers here, but yeah, this place I was in Arkansas and I saw the diesel was like 4.79, but unleaded was 2.79, almost. I would think it was something like that. But it was $2 more. Diesel was $2 more than unleaded. It's crazy. And people wonder why everything in their stores costs way more. You gotta get it there. So that's Petro. Let's see what's there to eat here. And I was actually excited. There's a Nathan's hot dogs here. So if you like hot dogs, I don't think this was. I think this was the first time I had. So that's what I had for lunch. And if you want to eat healthy, of course they have the Subway. They have a Popeye's chicken right next to it. Quaker Steak and Lube is like a restaurant. I never ate there. I'm not really sure what it is. They have a picture of the steak, so I think it's like a steakhouse. Burger King, and of course I said Nathan's hot dogs. And they have the truck stop they have like do barbecue, like turkey legs and different things like that at the normal TA Petro food, basically. If you ever been one. So I'm gonna quickly go over some reviews as I'm going over. There's not too many. There's one. Oh, I forgot. There's a chiropractor here too, and a dental office. So they have quite a bit of stuff. The dental office is closed on the weekend because I do need a tooth pulled out. And as I'm looking through here, I only see one-star review. It says terrible chiropractor, another scam. A lot of okay. Here's another one. In the world of home entertainment, Schneider National is the biggest fucktard company. Okay, first of all, what does Schneider Transportation have anything to do with this Petro? I don't know. But let's go over. I'm just gonna go over a few. Those are the negative ones. One guy says best truck stop ever. Actually, 1 million spots. No, I don't think so. 1 million. Cleaning facility with a clothing store, plenty of food choices, a chiropractor and a barber, a lounge for eating and watching TV. Also, a shuttle to the main store since the place is so big when you park in the back. So take you to Walmart, wherever I believe. Yeah, if you park in the back, you definitely have a long walk. I would say almost a little over half a mile. A big place. Another 5 star. Excellent place to park. Always can find room here to all drivers if you pull in here and you let me read that again. Excellent place to park. Always can find room here to all drivers if you pull in here and you think it's full, drive to the very back lot. It's like 40-acre field, paved parking. Perfect place to park always. You can find a place. But you can find everything. But the one thing I did not find here is beer. I don't recall seeing beer. I've been here before and been wanting to have a drink, and I know there's one of the places where they don't have beer. And so, anyhow, with further ado, let's talk about Robert Austin Sullivan. Like I said, he was the eighth person executed in the United States since 1976, and the second person executed in Florida. He was an American man who was executed by the state of Florida in an electric chair for the 1973 murder of Howard Johnson's restaurant manager. He was the second person to be executed in Florida after the capital punishment was reinstated in 1976. At the time of his execution, had been on death row longer than anyone else in the United States. So even though Similac was executed first, he was still, for appeals and everything, he was executed afterwards. His execution generated attention when Pope John Paul II personally pleaded for clemency to spare Sullivan's life. However, Governor Bob Graham said no, refused the appeal. And I've talked about this before on past episodes. Just because you turn to Christianity should not wipe your slate clean of what your crimes, you know. But yeah, Sullivan was executed in '83. Maintained his innocence until then, and when he tells you why he was innocent and different, maybe he was innocent because, and now we'll get into it. Sullivan was born July 22nd, 1947, in Boston, Massachusetts. 2 weeks after his birth, his adopt he was adopted by a couple from Nashua, New Hampshire, Nashua, New Hampshire, and was later raised in Belmont, Massachusetts, by his adoptive mother. I know I'm saying that wrong, Massachusetts, but that's how I say it. By his adoptive mother after the couple divorced. So he had a kind of a rough childhood. And let's go on to the murder. There's not really much. I mean, he was a college dropout, which got a job at the. We'll get more into that later, but he had stolen a lot of money from this Howard Johnson hotel and restaurant. So on the evening of April 8th, 1973, Sullivan and his accomplice Reed McLaughlin went to a Howard Johnson restaurant in Homestead, Florida. I don't know why, maybe it's just a restaurant. Somehow I think of hotels when I hear of Howard Johnson. Sullivan had previously been employed at the restaurant for 8 months as assistant manager in 1972. At the restaurant, the pair encountered 38-year-old David Smith, the new assistant manager who worked there. Smith was abducted, had his hands tied behind his back with tape, and was taken by the pair to a remote area in a swamp located in the Everglades. He was forced onto the ground where he was hit with a tire iron. He was then fatally shot 4 times in the back of the head by a 12-gauge shotgun. You think that many times was really necessary? I think the first one would have done it. I really do think. Schmidt was robbed of both of his credit cards and a watch, which I'm assuming they try to use, like most people do. And with his name on it, they probably found the body and saw somebody using his card. So yeah, so of course he was arrested for this and was found on April 17th. Sullivan was arrested because probably they found evidence linking Sullivan to the crime, including Schmidt's credit card, yep, his watch, yep, a shotgun, a handgun, tape used for that, and an tire iron, which was discovered in Sullivan's card with probably blood on it still. Sullivan reportedly confessed to the murder and was implicated. McLaughlin confessed as well, but took a plea deal with the state where he would be given a life sentence for exchanging for exchanged for his testimony against Sullivan. So if you really think that, and I've seen a lot of these where you think it's a solid evidence against you that you will be, and you don't mind spending the rest of your life in jail, you don't want to be murdered, just go ahead and confess and say I will you have testimony. Try to make a plea deal. But but if you just don't want, if you think you get away with it, and you don't, or you just don't want the death penalty, well, it's always I've learned that it's always first be the first one to confess if there's solid evidence against you. Keep that in mind. Not all, but just if there's solid evidence against you. Sullivan later denied committing the crime, claiming that he had confessed it while drunk, and that the confession had been coerced. In addition, his lawyer did not contact possible witnesses that could have supported Sullivan's alibi that he was in a gay bar at the time of the murder. So I was at the bar getting drunk with the boys. There's no way that he could have. He's saying he could have been there. Sullivan had reportedly told police that the motive of the crime was robbery, and that he needed the money to pay blackmailer who was threatened to tell his father that he was a homosexual. I don't know. I've been seeing too many history, any kind of about his homosexuality. Like I said, there's really not much about his life that I could find. But if he's a homosexual, so be it. But ultimately, Sullivan was found guilty of the crime and was convicted of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to death on November 12th, 1973, but it took a while to execute him. Throughout Sullivan's time on death row, prison officials and Catholic priests described him as a model prisoner. He was originally scheduled to be executed June 1979, but a federal judge granted him a stay of execution. So, on November 3rd, 1983, Sullivan was executed in the electric chair at age 36. The last meal considered steak, french fries, milk, and fresh strawberries. Not too bad of a meal, I would say. So Robert A. Sullivan, who spent 10 years of Florida's death row for conviction of killing the night manager of a Howard Johnson restaurant, walked sobbing but unassisted to the electric chair today and was executed with a 2-minute surge of a 2,000 volts. His head and lower right leg shaved. Sullivan sat in the three-legged oak chair and read passages from the priest at the time read the passages from the 60-second psalm scribed on a local pad. Or I think Sullivan sat there and said that. He said, "And in God alone my soul rests, because my hopes comes from within." Authorities said the Florida State Prison at Starkey said. He also stated that to all my peers on death row, despite what he said, to all my peers on death row. Let's start this again. My notes are going crazy. To all my peers on death row, despite that is about to happen to me, do not quit. Sullivan said, according to the prison spokesman Vernon Bradford. He also said, "I plead encouragement of a continued effort to end this monster they call capital punishment." I don't know why I'm changing my voice, but it seems appropriate at the time. As 2 dozen witnesses watched Sullivan's head was covered with a black hood at 10:10 a.m., Florida Governor Robert Graham told Prison Superintendent Richard Duggan by telephone, "There's no stay. God save us all." According to Patrick Riordan, Riordan, I don't know, Riodam, let me start again. I don't know why I can't talk. RIORDAM. I don't hear nobody say, you never could talk. Spokesman for the governor. So 1 minute later, a black hooded executioner unleashed the massive jolts of electricity. Sullivan was pronounced dead at 10:16. So even the executioner was wearing a black hood, like the hangsman. Hopefully my stand is broken, so I'm holding the mic right now. Hopefully my voice is not roller coastering all over the place. So a Howard Johnson manager, restaurant manager Sullivan, 36, became the ninth murderer in the United States to be executed since the Supreme Court lifted its ban on capital punishment in 1976. As an inmate with the largest tenure of death row in the nation, Sullivan was also the 199th convicted to die since 1924 in the Florida electric chair. So, like I say, he was the adopted son of a Harvard education surgeon. The 6 foot, 280-pound Sullivan battled for a legal reprieve until moments of his death. Then 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals refused. So, but yeah, I could go on and on. There's different notes that goes on about how his death peels and stuff like that, but I don't think y'all want to hear the same. I'm pretty much going to be repeating the same thing over again. But yeah, illegal job who became the manager of the. Here's where how much he stowed before being fired and why he was fired. A college dropout who became manager of the Howard Johnson restaurant in Homestead, Florida, Sullivan was sentenced to 5 years just probation in August of 1972 for stealing $6,200 from his employee. So I'm guessing that he disgruntled about it and probably got drunk with this guy, went there. And by the way, before I forget, later on up there in New Jersey, there's a Catholic priest. One of the Catholic priests said that somebody had confessed to him in confession, that somebody had confessed to that he was with him at the time, but because the Catholics believe that they can't. He said, yeah, last week, the week before the execution, Roman Catholic Bishop John J. Schneider told the same newspaper that a Boston man had confessed to the priest that he was with Sullivan in the Miami gay bar at the time of the murder in which Sullivan was convicted. But the church was unable to provide further details about the witness because revealing details from the confession is grounds of excommunication. So they would have got rid of him if he would have told anybody, because I guess there's a secret bond that you can confess. I think there's, as long as you're not about to hurt yourself or someone else, and then they have to keep quiet. But yeah, if you want to go visit this Mr. Donald Schmidt, he is buried in he's in Palms Woodland Cemetery in Miami-Dade County in Florida. He was born September 4th, 1933. He died at the age of 39 on April 10th, 1973 in Miami-Dade County. And his memorial ID is 715-76426. And if you want to know where Robert Austin Sullivan, where some people call him Bob, is buried at, like I say, he was born July 20th, 1947, Massachusetts. And his death was murder. Some people say it's murder. He was also around 36. Let's see, let's look back. I think they both died at the same age, if I recall. Oh, I lost my internet. Ugh. But yeah, November 30th, 1983. Starkey, he's in Florida, where they do. He's buried in Woodlawn Cemetery in Nashua, New Hampshire. His memorial ID is 184510123. Now you could assume that he might be innocent and he was at the gay bar, or he was guilty. So whatever you do while you're at his grave, that's up to you. But anyhow, there's the conclusion of my episode. Hopefully I didn't roller coaster all over the place with the mic moving around. But I said I need to get a new mic stand. And by helping me do this, you can become a Patreon at patreon.com/truckstopmurder. Or if you want to throw me a few bucks to get a better mic stand, because mine is broke. I have to be setting it up and everything. It just keeps, I need new equipment. You could PayPal me at truckstopmurder@gmail.com. There's always another way you can support me. But mainly, if you can't financially support me, you could share this podcast with all your friends, friends and family, or you could go join my Facebook group at Truck Stop Murder and True Crime, my Instagram at the same Truck Stop Murder True Crime, and Twitter at Truck Murder. Or you can email me any kind of suggestions or anything, or just want to call me an asshole. You can email me at truckstopmurder@gmail.com, which I have not gotten an email on that for a long time. So please, I look forward to even called an asshole. I encourage negative, because if there's something bad that I'm doing that you believe I can fix, tell me. If you're gonna be negative, tell me how I can fix the negativity. So there goes another executed inmate gone. And like I always say, let me give you a preview of my next one I'm going to do. If my internet works, of course it don't. All my internet what another problem is I do all my on my hotspot. So I'm not using it as an excuse. A lot of people do it. My next executed inmate is going to be Robert W. Williams. He was executed on December 14th, 1983. And I was right, Robert Sullivan. I said 8th. He's the ninth person executed. This person was executed in I won't say Los Angeles, Louisiana. Electric chair for the murder of Willie Kelly. That'll be my next one. He'll be the 10th one. So, enough said. And like I always say, you can't fix stupid, but you can sure numb it with a 2x4. I'm out of here.